The crash. The emergency klaxons wailed through the corridors of the UES Meridian as Captain Sarah Chen gripped the control yoke with white knuckles. Through the view screen, the hostile planet Zirion 7 rushed up to meet them, its crimson atmosphere crackling with electrical storms. "Hull breach in sections 4 through 7, Lieutenant Torres shouted over the chaos. "We're losing atmosphere." Sarah's mind raced through their options. The Zirion patrol ships had caught them mapping the outer territories, and their engines were crippled. Landing was their only hope. But Zirion 7 was classified as a death world. Toxic atmosphere, predatory wildlife, and home to the most xenophobic species humanity had encountered. "All hands, brace for impact," Sarah commanded, fighting the dying ship's controls. "Emergency protocols engaged." The Meridian hit the planet's upper atmosphere like a meteor, flames engulfing the hull. Sarah fought to maintain some control as they plummeted through alien skies. The ground rushed up, jagged mountains flowing rivers of what looked like liquid mercury, and vast fungal forests that glowed with bioluminescence. The impact threw Sarah from her seat despite the restraints. Metal screamed, systems failed, and then silence. Darkness claimed her. Sarah awoke to the acrid smell of burning circuitry and the taste of blood in her mouth. Emergency lighting cast eerie shadows through the twisted wreckage of the bridge. She checked her suit's integrity. Still sealed, life support functioning. Good. The atmosphere outside would kill her in minutes. "Torres? Anyone?" Her voice echoed, in the empty bridge. No response. Moving carefully through the debris, Sarah found Torres. The young lieutenant hadn't survived the crash. Neither had most of her crew, from what she could see. The weight of command, of survival, pressed down on her shoulders. A sound made her freeze, not from the ship but outside. Something was moving through the wreckage. Sarah drew her sidearm, muscle memory from years of training taking over. She made her way to where the hull had been torn open, revealing the alien landscape beyond. That's when she saw him. A Zirion warrior lay trapped beneath a section of the ship's hull, his distinctive bioarmor cracked and leaking phosphorescent fluid. But what caught Sarah's attention was his mask, an intricately designed piece of technology that covered his entire head, leaving only his eyes visible through dark lenses. The Zirion's breathing was labored, clearly dying. Sarah's training screamed at her to eliminate the threat, but something in those eyes stopped her. Pain, yes, but also recognition, intelligence, human. The Zirion gasped, his translator converting the words to standard. "Please," Sarah kept her weapon trained on him. "Your patrol ships attacked us, killed my crew." "Not my ships," the alien struggled. "I was prisoner, trying to warn you." Before Sarah could respond, a bone-chilling howl echoed across the landscape. Her blood ran cold. She recognized that sound from the xenobiology briefings. Zirion 7's apex predators, drawn by the crash. "Vrak hunters," the Zirion confirmed. "They come. You must free me. Together, we survive. Alone, we die." Every instinct told Sarah this was a trap. The Zirions had killed countless humans, destroyed colonies, shown no mercy. But the sound of approaching predators grew louder, and she could see shapes moving in, the fungal forest beyond. "If I free you, you'll kill me," Sarah stated. The Zirion's eyes held hers. "My name is Crix. I give you warrior's oath. No harm to you." He coughed, more fluid leaking from his armor. "Cannot remove mask, must never remove mask, promise me." The howls grew closer. Sarah could see the Vrak now, six-legged creatures the size of bears, with too many teeth and a hunger for anything that moved. Against every protocol, Sarah holstered her weapon and heaved at the debris pinning Crix. The metal groaned, shifted, and finally freed him. Crix struggled to stand, one arm hanging useless at his side. "Why can't you remove the mask?" Sarah asked, supporting his weight. "Cultural taboo," Crix gasped. "Death before dishonor. Mask stays." The first vrak burst from the forest, its multiple eyes focusing on them. Sarah raised her weapon, but Crix pushed her behind him. Despite his injuries, he moved with lethal grace, producing a blade from his armor. The vrak charged. What followed was a blur of violence. Crix fought like nothing Sarah had ever seen, his blade dancing through the air, finding weak points in the creature's hide. But he was wounded, slowing. A second vrak emerged. Sarah didn't hesitate. Her pulse rifle sang out, energy bolts searing into the creature's flank. Together, human and Xerion fought side by side, covering each other's weaknesses. When the last vrak fell, they were both breathing hard. "You fight well," Crix said, leaning heavily against a twisted bulkhead. "For a human." "You're not so bad yourself," Sarah replied, then caught herself. She was complimenting a Xerion warrior. The enemy. "We need shelter, medical supplies." "Caves," Crix pointed toward distant cliffs. "Safe from vrak. But my people, they will come. Hunt us both now." As they limped away from the wreckage, Sarah's mind raced. Why had a Xerion warrior saved her? Why was he a prisoner of his own people? And why did he insist on keeping that mask on? The answer came to her in a flash of memory. A mission gone wrong 3 years ago. Her first encounter with the Xerions. Her partner, James, had trusted one of them, removed their helmet in a gesture of peace. The alien had torn his throat out. With hidden mandibles, she'd barely escaped. "You're thinking of betrayal," Crix observed, his voice strained. "I sense it. Am I that obvious? Your species, very emotional. Easy to read." He stumbled, and Sarah caught him. "I am different. Was always different. It's why they imprisoned me." They reached the caves as Xerion 7's twin suns began to set, casting long shadows across the alien landscape. The cave mouth yawned before them, promising shelter, but also unknown dangers. Inside, Sarah activated her suit's lights, revealing a vast chamber with strange crystalline formations. The air was different here. Her suit indicated lower toxicity levels. "Help me." Crix collapsed against a wall, his breathing shallow. "Medical kit. In my armor." Sarah found the kit, filled with alien medical supplies she didn't recognize. Crix guided her through treating his wounds, his voice growing weaker. "Why did you save me?" Sarah finally asked. "Your people want us dead." Crix's eyes behind the mask held a deep sadness. "Not all Xerions think alike. Some of us remember when things were different, before the war, before the hatred. That was over a decade ago. Time is different for us. We live longer, remember more." He winced as she applied what looked like organic bandages. "I've seen what this war costs. Both sides tried to stop it. They called me traitor." Sarah finished the treatment, then sat back. Outside, she could hear the distant calls of vrak and other predators. But in here, in this strange moment of peace, she felt oddly safe with this alien who should be her enemy. "Get some rest," she said. "I'll take first watch." Crix nodded, his hand moving unconsciously to his mask. "Remember, never remove it."
"No matter what happens, promise me, Sarah Chen. How do you know my name?" "I've been watching your species longer than you know, trying to understand, trying to find a way to peace." His eyes closed. "Promise me." "I promise," Sarah said. Though, she didn't understand why it mattered so much. As Crix slept, Sarah stood watch at the cave entrance, her mind churning with questions. In the distance, she could see lights in the sky. Search parties, looking for survivors. But were they human? Or Xerion? And did it matter anymore? She looked back at Crix, this enemy who had saved her life. Whatever secrets lay behind that mask, whatever game was being played, she was committed now. They would survive together, or die together. The first part of her journey into the unknown had begun. Outside, Xerion 7's hostile night descended, bringing with it new dangers and the promise of revelations that would change everything. Sarah thought she knew about the war,
about the Xerians, and about herself. The hunt dawn on Xerion 7 brought no relief. The sky remained a perpetual crimson, shot through with veins of purple lightning. Sarah checked her chronometer. 12 hours since the crash. Her suit's power cells were holding, but she'd need to find a recharge source soon. Crick stirred, a low groan escaping his masked speaker. "We must move," he said, struggling to sit up. "They'll have found the crash site by now." "Your people or mine?" Sarah asked, helping him stand. "Both. But my people will arrive first. They have greater motivation." He tested his injured arm, wincing. "I can travel." They emerged from the cave into the fungal forest. The bioluminescent flora had dimmed with the sunrise but still pulsed with alien life. Sarah's suit picked up multiple life signs, nothing immediately threatening, but she kept her weapon ready. "Where do we go?" she asked. "North." Crix pointed toward a mountain range. "Ancient ruins there, pre-war. Might find supplies, maybe working. Technology." "Pre-war?" Sarah frowned. "The Xerians had ruins before first contact?" Crix was silent for a moment. "There's much your people don't know about this conflict. Much that's been hidden." Before Sarah could pursue that thought, her suit's sensors screamed a warning. "Incoming aircraft. Xerion patrol ships approaching fast. Run!" Crix pushed her toward denser forest. "They have thermal trackers. The fungus will provide some cover." They plunged into the alien wilderness, Sarah's military training taking over. Behind them, she could hear the whine of graviton engines. Searchlights pierced the canopy, hunting for them. This way, Crix led them through a labyrinth of giant, mushroom-like growths. "Step where I step. Some of these are carnivorous." As if to emphasize his point, a nearby fungus suddenly contracted, its cap splitting open to reveal rows of teeth. It snapped at empty air where Sarah had been moments before. The patrol ships circled overhead, but the dense canopy provided cover. Then Sarah heard something worse, the bark of Xerion hunting beasts, ground troops. "They're using Moroks," Crix said grimly. "Tracking beasts. They'll have our scent. How do we lose them?" "We don't. We reach the ruins first." He pointed to a river ahead, not water but the liquid mercury Sarah had seen from orbit. "We cross here. Moroks can't swim." "That's not water," Sarah protested. "No, it's safer. Trust me." Trust. Such a fragile thing between species at war. But Sarah had no choice. They waded into the metallic river, the liquid surprisingly warm against her suit. It flowed around them like living silver, and Sarah tried not to think about what it might be doing to her radiation shielding. Behind them, the barking grew louder. They emerged on the far bank just as the first Morok burst from the forest. A nightmare fusion of reptile and insect, all scales and chitin and too many legs. "Don't let them see your eyes," Crix warned. "They're psychic, can induce paralysis." Sarah kept her gaze averted as more beasts emerged, their handlers, Xerion warriors in full battle armor, close behind. One raised a weapon, and Sarah dove for cover as energy bolts sizzled past. "Crix!" The lead warrior's voice boomed through a translator. "Surrender the human. The Council demands justice." "Since when does the Council care about justice?"
Crix shouted back, pulling Sarah behind a cluster of rocks. "They want her ship's data core, the colony locations." "You always were too clever, traitor." The warrior signaled his troops to spread out. "Your mask won't protect you forever. We know what you are." Sarah felt Crix tense beside her. "What does he mean?" she whispered. "Later," Crix said. "Can you run? Do I have a choice?" "No!" They burst from cover, racing for the foothills. Energy bolts exploded around them, vaporizing sections of the alien landscape. Sarah's training kicked in. Zigzag patterns, unpredictable movements, using terrain for cover. The ruins appeared suddenly. Massive structures of black stone that seemed to drink in light. Geometric patterns covered every surface. Hurt to look at directly. Inside, Crix gasped, his injuries clearly taking their toll. The stones interfere with their sensors. They plunged into darkness.
Sarah's suit lights revealing corridors that defied conventional architecture, angles that shouldn't exist, stairs that led up and down simultaneously. "What is this place?" Sarah asked, awestruck despite their situation. "Old," Crick said. "Older than our war. Older than—" He stopped, listening. "They're coming." They moved deeper into the ruins, following passages that seemed to shift when Sarah wasn't looking directly at them. Her suit's navigation systems gave conflicting readings as if space itself was twisted here. "Cricks," she said. "What your warrior said about your mask—" "Not now," he cut her off. "Look." They'd entered a vast chamber, its ceiling lost in darkness. In the center stood a raised platform holding what looked like a communication array. But unlike anything Sarah had seen before,
Organic and mechanical elements fused seamlessly, pulsing with their own light. "Pre-war tech?" she asked. "Older." Crix moved toward it, his movement reverent. "This is why I brought you here. This can send a message to both our peoples." Saying,
"What?" Before he could answer, the chamber filled with light. Zerion warriors poured in from multiple entrances, weapons raised. Sarah counted at least 20, all in full combat gear. "Nowhere left to run, traitor," the lead warrior said. "Surrender the human." "No." Crick stepped in front of Sarah. "You know what she represents, what her ship was carrying." "Peace negotiations?" The warrior laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "The council has decided no peace with the humans. They're too dangerous, too unpredictable." Sarah felt her anger rise. "We're dangerous? You attacked our colonies, killed thousands." "Because you would have done the same," the warrior replied. "Your species' history proves it. The council has seen your wars, your genocides. You're a threat to all life." "That's not—" Sarah started, but Crix raised a hand. "Enough," he said. "Commander Vrax, you know me. You know my reputation. I don't make decisions lightly." "Which is why your betrayal stings deepest," Vrax replied. "Remove your mask, Crix. Show the human what you really are. Show her why the council fears her kind." Sarah saw Crix's whole body tense. His hand moved involuntarily toward his mask, then stopped. "I can't," he said quietly. "Not yet." "Then you'll die wearing it." Vrax raised his weapon. That's when Sarah noticed something. A panel on the ancient array had lit up when they entered. Symbols scrolled across its surface, almost like a countdown. "Crix," she whispered. "The machine. It's active." He glanced at it, and she saw his eyes widen behind the mask. "Everyone out," he shouted. "The defense systems—" The room exploded.
Into chaos. Beams of impossible light erupted from the walls, cutting through armor and flesh with equal ease. Warriors screamed, fled, fell. Sarah threw herself behind the platform as death rained from above. When the light faded, only she, Crix,
and Commander Vrax remained, the latter badly wounded, his armor smoking. "What have you done?" Vrax gasped. "What I had to," Crix replied. He turned to the array, his fingers dancing over controls that shouldn't have responded to Zerion touch. "This message needs to be sent. Both species need to know the truth. The Asai—" "Truth?" Sarah demanded. "What truth? What are you hiding behind that mask?" Crix paused, his hands hovering over the controls. "The truth about the war. About why it really started. About what both our species have forgotten." "No." Vrax tried to rise, failed. "The secret must be kept, for the good of all." "Secrets are what started this," Crix said. "It's time they ended." He initiated the sequence. The array hummed to life. Energies building that made Sarah's suit warning scream. She watched in fascination as data streamed across displays. Star charts, technical readouts, and something else. Images. History. Sarah. Crix turned to her, his voice heavy with exhaustion and pain. "What I'm about to show you, it changes
everything. Are you prepared for that?" She thought of her dead crew, of the war that had claimed so many lives.
"I need to know," she said. Crix nodded, then turned to Vrax. Tell the council I'm sorry, but this is the only way. Traitor, Vrax whispered. You'll doom us all. No, Crix said softly. I'll save us all. The array pulsed, and Sarah felt reality shift around her. Images flooded her mind, not her own memories, but something else. Something ancient. She saw the Xerian homeworld as it once was, beautiful, pristine. She saw ships arriving from deep space. Human ships. But also not human. Changed. Different. No, she breathed. That's impossible. Is it? Crix asked. Your people found something in deep space, something that changed them, augmented them, made them forget their origins. Sarah's mind reeled. You're saying humans and Xerians were once the same species, Crix finished. Divergent evolution, genetic manipulation, time. We're not enemies, Sarah. We're family. The revelation hit her like a physical blow. Everything she'd believed, everything she'd fought for, all based on a lie. Your mask, she said suddenly. That's why you can't remove it. Because underneath, I'm something that shouldn't exist, Crix confirmed. A hybrid. Living proof of what we once were. More images flooded through. Ancient wars, genetic experiments, a species split by ideology and transformed by technology. Humans fleeing to distant stars, evolving, forgetting. Xerians remaining, changing, also forgetting. The Council knows, Vrax said weakly. Has always known. But the hatred runs too deep now. Too much blood spilled. Unless we remind them, Crix said. He looked at Sarah. Your ship's data core. It contains colony locations, yes, but also genetic records. Proof of our shared ancestry. That's why they wanted it destroyed, Sarah realized. Not to find our colonies, but to hide the evidence. And now it's broadcasting to every human and Xerion world, Crix said. The truth, finally revealed. Outside, Sarah could hear more ships arriving. The chamber shook with impacts as both human and Xerian forces converged on their location. They'll kill us all, Vrax said. Both sides. To keep the secret. Perhaps, Crix agreed. But the message is sent. The truth is out there now. Sarah looked at this alien who wasn't alien at all, this enemy who was trying to save both their species. What now? She asked. Crix's hand moved to his mask again. Now I think it's time. The truth needs a face. Your promise, Sarah reminded him. You made me promise never to remove it. Promises and secrets, Crix said sadly. They've killed more of us than any weapon. He turned to face her fully, his eyes meeting hers through the mask's lenses. Are you ready to see what we really are, Sarah Chen? What we could be again? Sarah thought of her dead crew, of countless battles, of two species locked in mutual annihilation. Then she thought of Crix saving her life, of the truth hidden for generations. Show me, she said. As Crix's hands moved to his mask, Sarah heard the sound of boots in the corridors. Their time was running out. But in that moment, in that chamber of ancient secrets, she realized that everything, the war, the hatred, the fear, was about to change. The mask began to loosen. The truth unravels. Crix's fingers trembled as they found the hidden clasps of his mask. Sarah watched, transfixed, as mechanisms whirred and hissed. The sound of approaching soldiers grew louder, both human and Xerian voices now, their universal translators creating a cacophony of languages. Wait, Sarah said suddenly. The defense systems, can we activate them again? Crix paused, his mask half loosened. Once more, perhaps. But Sarah, his voice carried a weight of centuries. You need to understand what I am before they arrive. What we all are. The mask fell away. Sarah's breath caught. The face beneath was neither fully human nor Xerion, but something in between. Familiar bone structure with alien modifications. Skin that shifted between pink and blue depending on the light. Eyes that held the depth of human emotion but with vertical pupils that spoke of another evolution. My God, she whispered. I was Born in a laboratory, Crix said, his voice clearer now without the mask's distortion. A secret project. The Council wanted to understand human genetics to find a weakness. Instead, they found the truth. Vrax groaned from his position on the floor. Abomination, he spat. Neither one thing nor the other. I prefer bridge, Crix replied, between what was and what could be again. The chamber door exploded inward. Human Marines poured through, weapons raised, followed seconds later by Xerion warriors from another entrance. Both forces stopped short, caught in a standoff. Captain Chen. A familiar voice, Lieutenant Commander Davis from the rescue team. Step away from the aliens. Stand down, Sarah ordered, not moving from Crix's side. All of you, stand down. There's something you need to see. The array behind them pulsed with energy, still broadcasting its message to the stars. Images flickered in the air. DNA sequences, archaeological evidence, historical records, thought. Lost. What is this? Davis demanded, his eyes shifting between Sarah and the impossible face of Crix. The truth, Sarah said. About the war. About us. About them.
Crix stepped forward, his hybrid features visible to all. Gasps and curses erupted from both sides. Weapons swung toward him. I am proof, he said, his voice carrying to every soldier. Proof that your hatred is based on lies. That your war is
against yourselves. Impossible, a Xerion warrior hissed. Humans are inferior, violent, destructive. As are Xerions, a human Marine countered. Xenophobic, aggressive, merciless. Both true, Crix said, because we're the same species, separated by time, changed by technology, but fundamentally identical. Look at the data. See for yourselves. The array's projections intensified. Genetic markers overlaid showing the branching point. Historical records revealing the Great Exodus. The transformation of one species into two through deliberate genetic manipulation. The founders knew. Crix continued. On both sides, they hid the truth to maintain control, to justify expansion, to feed the military complex that had grown too powerful to dismantle. Lies, Commander Vrax struggled to his feet. The Council feared losing power, Crix interrupted, just as Earth's government did. So they created an enemy, the perfect enemy, ourselves. Sarah watched the faces around the room, human and Xerion alike struggling with the revelation. She saw doubt, anger, denial, but also, in some, the dawning of understanding. The colonies, she said suddenly. That's why the attacks followed, such specific patterns. You were targeting worlds that might have archaeological evidence, trying to destroy the proof. Crix nodded. Both sides were. A shadow war within the war. Those who knew the truth trying to preserve it, others trying to bury it forever. This changes nothing, Davis said, though his voice lacked conviction. They've killed millions, destroyed entire worlds. As have we, Sarah replied. The question is, do we continue the cycle or do we break it? The chamber fell silent except for the hum of the ancient array.
Then from the Xerion ranks a young warrior stepped forward, removing their helmet to reveal features that, in light of the revelation, looked startlingly human. I've lost brothers to this war, she said. Sisters, my entire clan. But if this
is true, she looked at Crix. If you're real, then what are we fighting for? Power, Vrax snarled. Control. The natural order. The natural order was shattered when we split ourselves in two, Crix said. I spent decades in their society, then decades in ours. You want to know the only real difference I found? The lies we tell ourselves about why we're superior. More soldiers were removing helmets now, human and Xerion, looking at each other with new eyes. The array continued its broadcast, reaching across star systems, carrying truth at the speed of light. The Council will never accept this, Vrax warned. Neither will Earth's leadership. They'll destroy entire worlds to keep this secret. Then, we'll have to stop them, Sarah said. She turned to Davis. Lieutenant Commander, I need you to trust me. I know this is impossible, but the evidence, I can see the evidence, Davis replied slowly. I'm just Processing. A new alarm pierced the chamber, not from the array, but from Sarah's suit. Orbital bombardment incoming, she announced. Someone's decided to silence us permanently. The Council, Vrax said with bitter satisfaction. They'll reduce these ruins to atoms rather than let the truth escape. How long? Crix asked. 15 minutes, maybe less. Crix turned to the array, his hybrid features set with determination. Not enough time to download everything, but maybe enough to ensure it survives. What are you planning? Sarah asked. This facility has defense systems we haven't activated yet. Deep ones, old ones. He was working at the controls now, symbols flowing across screens in languages neither human nor Zerion. The planetary shield, Vrax breathed. You can't. It requires a genetic key, Crix finished. From both species. Lucky I qualify as both. Sarah understood immediately. It'll kill you. Probably, Crix agreed. But the message will continue. The truth will survive. There has to be another way, Sarah insisted. Look around you, Crix gestured to the mixed crowd of soldiers. Already they're talking, questioning. The seed is planted, but it needs time to grow. The ground shook as the first orbital strikes hit the mountains around them. The ruins groaned but held. Do it, Vrax said suddenly. Everyone turned to stare at the wounded commander. I've been a fool, blinded by doctrine. If your sacrifice can end this madness, then it's worth more than all our lives. Crix nodded and placed his hands on bioscanners that materialized from the array. Light engulfed him, and Sarah saw pain flicker across his features. Wait, she said, moving to the array. If it needs both genetic patterns, then I can help. Share the load. Sarah, no. You said we're the same species, she interrupted. Prove it, let me help. After a moment's hesitation, Crix shifted to make room. Sarah placed her hands on adjacent scanners and immediately felt fire race through her veins. The array was reading her, down to the molecular level, comparing, analyzing, finding the commonalities that centuries of separation hadn't erased. Around them, the chamber filled with light. Not the harsh glare of weapons, but something older. The ruins themselves were awakening, responding to the united genetic signature of their creators. It's working, Crix gasped. The shield it's enormous, continental, maybe planetary. Outside, the bombardment intensified. But now it was meeting resistance. Energy beams that should have vaporized mountains were being absorbed, deflected, transformed. Together, Sarah said, locking eyes with Crix. Whatever happens, we do this together. He smiled, a very human expression on his hybrid face. Together. The array's power surged, and Sarah felt herself being pulled into it, her consciousness expanding beyond her body. She saw the shield rising, saw the orbital weapons failing, saw messages racing across space to worlds both human and Zerion. She saw the truth spreading like wildfire. Look, someone whispered. Look at them. Sarah managed to turn her head. Where her hand met the scanner, where Crix's touched his, the air itself was changing. Light bridges formed between them, between the human marines and Zerion warriors, connecting everyone in the chamber in a web of luminous energy. The Creator's gift, Vrax said, wonder in his voice. Unity visualization. They're showing us what we are. In that light, differences faded. Human and Zerion became variations on a theme, notes in the same cosmic song. The soldiers stared at each other, at themselves, seeing past the armor and prejudice to the shared heritage beneath. We can stop this, Davis said, his voice carrying new conviction. We can end the war. Only if we stand together, the young Zerion warrior added. Only if we choose truth over comfort. The orbital bombardment was failing. Through the array, Sarah could feel panic in the fleets above, orders conflicting, crews demanding answers. The truth was reaching them too. Crix, Sarah said, her voice strained. I don't know how much longer. Just a little more, he replied. The shield is almost... His words cut off as new energy surged through the array. Sarah felt her consciousness scatter, merge, reform. She was herself, but also more, connected to every life in the chamber, to the ancient systems of the ruins, to the spreading network of truth racing across the stars. In that moment of transcendence, she saw it all. The fear that drove the war, the lies that sustained it, the love that could end it. Her body was failing, the strain too great. But her spirit soared, carrying the message to the stars. We are one. We have always been one. We can be one again. As darkness claimed her, Sarah's last thought was a prayer, not for herself, but for both species, for the future they could build
together, for the truth that would set them free. The final revelation, Sarah drifted in a space between consciousness and void. Memories that weren't hers flickered through her mind. Crix as a child in the laboratory, scientists in biosuits studying
his hybrid genetics, the Council's secret archives, Earth's classified xenogenetics program, two civilizations built on the same lie. She jerked awake in a medical bay, gasping. Sterile white walls surrounded her, but through the window she could see the crimson sky of Xerion 7. How long had she been unconscious? Easy, a voice said. Davis sat beside her bed, looking haggard. You've been out for 3 days. The medics weren't sure you'd make it. Crix? Sarah,